My Lords, I'm here to speak against Amendment 285. It seems to me that the amendment is an extreme reaction to making fracking illegal, effectively. That seems short-sighted, and it does close down any possibility of looking at the issue again or objectively, and potentially feeds into an atmosphere. You can't have a sensible debate on energy policy if we're going to stop criminalising innovations every time they come along. We've already heard that the government has a moratorium on fracking. I myself feel that that's overcautious and potentially unhelpful. But regardless of that, to make it illegal, it just feels completely over the top. Now, I do understand that fracking is controversial as a method of drawing shale gas from the ground, and certainly, as the noble Baroness Jones has explained, environmental activists have been hyperactive in ensuring that there's a popular image of fracking being dangerous and dirty. But I don't know that that should pass for science or evidence. I myself am not for or against fracking, but I am against moralising the issue. And right from the start, I've been shocked at the venomous demonisation of what, after all, is just an energy source. And there has been a lot of misinformation and scare stories around the issue. I'd rather like to call for a calm discussion about the kind of tremors that are caused, but they would be caused by any kind of mineral extraction, whether that was quarry blasting or any major civil engineering project. So I just worry about a tendency to portray the worst-case scenario with scary stories of earthquakes and water contamination and poisoned water tables, because I do feel that that is a sort of distinctly evidence-free approach. And I don't think the Environment Bill should be associated with something quite so ideological in that way, but I'm calling for a more neutral and nuanced cost-benefit analysis approach. I do remember when the former Labour MP, and who was then fracking czar, Natasha Engel, she described actually government policy, and I'm quoting here, government policy is being driven by environmental lobbying rather than science, evidence and a desire to see the UK industry flourish. And indeed, I was shocked at how many rejoiced at what Ms Engel described as a perfectly viable industry being wasted, regardless of the fact that that industry's had a massive potential for jobs and local prosperity in places like the North West, North Yorkshire and North Derbyshire. And it did promise to bring energy prices down. And if it didn't work out, fine. But to celebrate that as a sort of big gain seemed to me inappropriate. I also do worry about the billions being spent importing gas, which I do think could be better spent on, and I've got plenty of ideas, particularly in health and social care and just rebuilding post-COVID society. I'm not keen on dependence on Russian gas, but even beyond the question of energy security, it does seem to me that even within the terms set by net zero, even though that's not a target I'm particularly obsessive about, as others are, shale gas production actually could have been had few carbon emissions, far less carbon emissions than other hydrocarbons. And it always surprises me that when we're talking about reaching carbon emission targets, that, you know, we would rule out getting gas out of the ground in the UK rather than importing it. But it feels like with nuclear power as well, that every time there is a new energy solution proposed that aren't wind or solar, we get a kind of moral panic led by activism. Just finally, Lord Tevison talked about the problems of any energy or finding any energy source that won't disrupt the environment and nature. I was involved in an argument some years ago after Lancashire County Council actually rejected an application for exploratory drilling, not in relation to the safety of fracking per se, but based on the negative visual impact and increased traffic on rural roads and that kind of environmental disruption. But wouldn't such concerns condemn industrialisation in general? How can there be economic development without traffic or some changes to the skyline or indeed to the environment? I think we need that because my priorities are to generate wealth not personally, I've never been able to do that, but that society is able to generate wealth and in the process make people's lives more comfortable and open up possibilities for humanity. And we need industrialisation in general and more energy production in particular, and that will involve infrastructural environmental disruption. Shale gas might not be the energy we need, but we should note that a wider ideological rejection of economic growth and progress sometimes inflicts this discussion, and we should avoid it. We definitely do not need an amendment to the Environment Bill that would make fracking illegal or any energy source illegal, and I'd even urge the Government to look again at the moratorium.